we are back. Had a little bit of excitement yesterday right before signing off. Alright. So, I'm going to drop off some gear. So, time for a little bit improvised first aid. Which, let's see. Oh, lovely, nice little burn. So they recommend disinfecting it here with various alcohols, which I'm going to tell you right now. Cold water's your friend on this one. Disinfecting with the hard alcohol is just going to hurt like crazy. And it's going to actually, in some cases there, can actually worsen things. Yeah, with burns, cold water, clean, non-adhesive, nice, clean, non-adhesive wrappings. Now this is the interesting one. This one requires speed. And neck wounds in first aid are the worst. The absolute worst. Yeah, because they bleed like crazy. And normally, for a severe bleed, you put pressure on it. But in a lot of cases, the neck, you put pressure on it, and, well, you literally start strangling the person. Yeah. It's one of the delightful first aid situations. Delightful first aid situations where there's really, do the best you can, and what happens, happens. Yes, yeah, it's one of those ones where that should be in a no-win situation. So essentially with neck wound, you have to apply pressure, but you can't apply so much pressure that you outright kill your patient. So it's kind of a delicate balance type of thing. And yeah, first aid's one of those things where you do everything perfect by the book and still lose a patient. So yeah, you plug along, do the best you can with what you got, and everything outside of that's really out of your control. On the plus side, smiling for weaponry. Yeah, the good old Smith & Wesson Model 29 44 Magnum. Made famous by Dirty Harry. So yeah, the original hand cannon. Got people took basically the 44 Magnum, actually the Model 29 in general, and basically saved it from obscurity. It was around the edge showing up on forgotten weapons. To the point there where the original script for Dirty Harry, he was supposed to be carrying a nickel-plated snub-nose version, and all they could find was the 6-inch barrel basic black one when they were looking for the prop. So yeah, it was so bad that a prop house couldn't even find the version they wanted. And then of course the movie came out, and then all of a sudden Smith & Wesson's getting calls from everybody. Oh, nice shiny new. Nice shiny new 44 Magnum. Yeah, basically just, and then people start playing around 44 Magnums more, and they start getting clever ideas. They start getting things like auto mags, which are basically these big semi-automatic versions firing a bunch of different calibers. The two that stand out for me, though, were 44 Magnum, which fair enough, like big loud carbine. The other one was 30 carbine, which if you watch many World War II movies featuring the U.S., you'll see a lot of those little guys. And they're arguably, I've heard people argue that's the first ever intermediate cartridge. Which, you know, that's a whole, like anything weaponry related, that's a whole debate and a half that I'm not going to get into, but it's definitely way hotter than a standard pistol cartridge, and I would argue actually quite a bit more punch than the 44 Magnum in similar rounds. Designed from, you know, a short rifle that fires with a shoulder stock. You know, it's just kind of wacky, but it's also kind of hilarious too in a lot of ways. They didn't make a lot of them. They never really took off. They're very expensive for what they were. Heavy, clumsy, expensive. Terrible guns to shoot, unless you really knew what you're doing, especially 30 carbine, I imagine. You're taking a rifle with a barrel and a shoulder stock, and you're compacting that round down to a 6 or 7-inch barrel, no shoulder stock whatsoever, and a grip that is massively oversized. So, hard to hold, hard to shoot. A lot of them are in collections now. A lot of people love them as collector's items. And again, they are pretty cool. Anyway, though, long story short, though, too, every couple of years after the auto mag came and went, people would kind of revise the concept. So there was like 3 or 4 different like auto mags with varying types of capitalization and spaces between the words. Copyright issues for the original company, and they all kind of didn't work too well. And really, the automatic Magnum pistols never really worked all that well until you got the Desert Eagle. And that one there really got off because compared to the auto mags, it was quite a bit cheaper. It was a big, ugly thing, but yeah. And then a few movie prop houses, because it was available and cheaper, they needed a big, nasty, scary gun for one of their movies. Well, there you go. Nice 44 Magnum handgun, or 50 AE if you really want to go crazy, which was a whole new ball of wax. Which, yeah, personally, I'm not sure about the wisdom of that. I've heard people say the 44 and the 357 Desert Eagle are a lot nicer than the 50 AE version. The 50 AE version, you only got like 6 shots plus one in the chamber, if I remember correctly, versus 8 with the 44. I think it's like 9 with the 357. Ooh, Mac 10. It's supposed to be for military contracts originally, and no militaries didn't want it at all because it was just complete. Actually, Mac 10s are actually, as is, are really quite dangerous. This version here with the suppressor on it, the SD, was actually, it came about as specifically the way you're supposed to shoot a Mac 10, because you're supposed to hold on to that big ass suppressor. Otherwise, you can't really hold it with two hands without really getting your fingers a little too close to a lot of spots that you don't want to. But they're cheap. A lot of them actually end up getting sold to the civilian market. That semi-automatic onlys. The actual fully automatic ones aren't super common, just because like it's a lot easier to sell a semi-automatic, legally speaking, than it is to sell like a machine pistol. But then that's not to say that people didn't modify them to act as full autos. And again, they got a short little barrel on them and all that. They're really designed as a quiet little submachine gun for the kind of folks that want a low impact gun with a decent rate of fire at close range. With that big suppressor on it, that massive folding stock. I'm pretty sure it's designed by someone who was doing part-time as a torturer. I know a lot of people who fired them right out that firing the stock is very painful to the point where they said they don't even bother with it, which is kind of telling in its own right. And then some of them had this little hand loop thing, so you would grab the pistol with your dominant hand, use your right hand. Or you're supposed to do it in the manual arms, was you grab with your right hand and you grab this little leather loop with your left hand, and you pull it back towards your body. And that was supposed to kind of help control the recoil. Yeah, I'm a little skeptical of that. Exactly. And plus, it means that you have to get your hands basically 2-3 inches away from that muzzle when you're firing the gun itself. Which, that's, the recoil gets out of hand, your hand slips, and yeah. You are officially the guy who shot himself. You're officially known ever after that, the guy who shot himself in the hand. But I will say though, at least the Mac 10 was designed from the ground up as a submachine gun. If you really want a fun one, check out the Lebanon Colt 45s. We took a classic 1911 45 automatic. This gunsmith named Lebanon, naturally. And he would go and take one and tinker out the internals. And so this thing would be fully automatic when he was done with it. He sold them really no questions asked. Very expensive. Prohibition agents were known to carry them. A lot of outlaws and gangsters bought them. Again, no questions asked. The first one he ever got, when he fired it, it got away from him. And his son was in the basement. We had a firing range for his gun store, and when he fired it, the recoil launched it up, shot it straight up into the ceiling, and just about took his own son out. So after that, he took the handle off a Thompson because if you're gonna go insanity, you might as well go full insanity, right? Anyway, he took the handle off a Thompson. It's kind of bodged it onto the front, the lower frame, and that was pretty much, yeah. Then he also, too, would make custom magazines for them with like, yeah, these little custom 20 round magazines for them. It's pretty quick everyone involved realized that, like, yeah, shooting it with the standard 7 round magazine was kind of pointless. You know, you blink and you miss the show. And they're very neat little guns. John Dillinger was really famous for using one. Apparently, he had it tucked down his pants during one of his arrests, and somehow the police officer who frisked him missed it. I don't know how. The thing is huge. Like, again, it's a 1911, literally with a Tommy gun foregrip on it. So it's huge by handgun standards. Anyway, some point during that arrest, he whipped the sucker out and started blasting. Didn't nail anyone, as far as if I remember the story correctly, but definitely got everyone ducking and running. At which point he took off and got away for a little bit. And it's always worth noting that, yeah, he had it on him when he was dead, when he was killed. Or was he killed, or was it final arrest? I'm not super up to date with my Prohibition era gangsters. But yeah, really interesting little gun. Super illegal by today's standards, naturally. Probably for good reason. Just for considering the own risk to life and limb you give yourself just by using it. But yeah, no, they're pretty neat little guns to look up. And yeah, no, they were actually, and yeah, so yeah, if you want to spend a lot of money, buy yourself a Tommy gun, or you can buy yourself a Lebanon. Both super expensive, both loud, both high rate of fire. But you know, one you can hide down your pants, and a police officer doesn't want to get too feely, might miss it. So I'm pretty sure that guy there probably wasn't working at that job too much longer after that. Because yeah. Yeah, one of the mods I got on YouTube is the Cadillac Gauge Commandos, which I want to say were used by U.S. military police or the U.S. Marines in Vietnam, near the end there. Pretty sure some popped up, and other little conflicts here and there. By the point in the game, which is 1993, this would be a National Guard little mothballed special. You know, you still got your 20mm cannon, the 30 cal machine gun, and package that comes with most armor, or most small arms. So, you know, not terrible, not great, not terrible. But yeah, that's actually one thing too. With a lot of the light armor there too, though, as soon as that's where 50 cals with similar anti-material rifles really come to their own. Taking apart armor, or light armor. You know, they won't do anything more than irritate a tank. You know, you shoot a tank with one, you just irritate the crew a little bit. But you shoot a lighter armed vehicle with a 50 cal, or one of those Soviet era 12.7 millimeters, or one of those 14.5 millimeter anti-tank rifle rounds, and you're gonna have a pretty interesting show. But yeah, no, like, during that in 2014, first little issue in Crimea, both sides were actually using old, God, what are they called? They were these big World War II era anti-tank rifles of 14.5 millimeters, and they were utilizing them in an anti-armor role, specifically going after light armored vehicles. Apparently, they were very efficient at it. Something like a BTR or BMP. But you have to remember too, those BTRs and BMPs are amphibious, designed to be amphibious. So weight is a concern. So they've got just enough armor to handle rifles, and pretty much everything after that is just move fast and hope you don't get hit. Which is, not concerning at all. But apparently those 14.5 millimeters will go in one side of those suckers and out the other. Which, again, something there that you don't really want to be part of. They're really going out the gate. Then with the 14.5 millimeters, you had those KBP machine guns that popped up on the, I want to say BTR 70s. Yeah, it's BTR 70s, because the BTR 60s just had like an open top, and then they would get like a mounted PKM or something similar up there, and then it's just open topped otherwise. And they had huge issues. A few times they were actually used in violent situations. They had issues with mortar shells. They had issues with guys coming up beside them with Molotov cocktails and throwing them into the crew compartment. It was a mess. So then the BTR-6 got a roof, and they got this little turret with a KBP on it. And that was pretty nice. Then they also had the BRDM. So the BRDM-1 was, again, a little amphibious scout car. Open-topped and get a mounted light machine gun. Oh, and they did the BRDM-2. They stuck that same turret on top there, and those things were actually, there's some accounts I've read there from Soviets fighting Chechnya and Afghanistan. Or Soviets fighting Chechnya, or in Afghanistan, the Russian Federation fighting in Chechnya, where reconnaissance units specifically go out of their way to get their hands on the BRDM-2s, because they found they were really good at raiding. They're fast. They had a really good rate of fire on them. They found that you could ram gates with them, which, feeling a little bit brave and ballsy there, but more power to them. And so they do these raids, and they're coming under cover of darkness, pound through a gate, and just start basically ripping around these areas that some of these Afghanistan walled villages. And they'd go knock down the gate, start ripping around doing donuts in these walled villages, shooting the ever-loving crap out of anything with a pulse. Which apparently was quite successful. Of course, like most wheeled armored vehicles, though, you're limited to meeting at least basic roads. But yeah, sure, they can technically go off-road, but you got that kind of weight there, and off-road starts becoming more of a suggestion than a good idea. But again, they were amphibious too. Theoretically, they could go from just like standard operating to amphibious in a couple of minutes. In practice, that varied quite a bit. especially because you have to deploy your trim vane and close a bunch of the hatches to be waterproof. And in combat, lots of times you can have things like, sandbags piled on the front, which will block that trim vane from being deployed. Again, just a little bit extra armor because you're pretty vulnerable. And then hatches that need to be closed, a lot of times we kept open so crew could either see better or get out better. So it was kind of in the case of emergency, or in the case of the BTRs, they're troop carriers, so the hatches are open because, the whole point is carrying the troops so they can jump out. Yeah, so in practice there, a lot of times it take like, 10, 15 minutes to get them ready for swimming. Still pretty neat little thing there. This current issue there, current events that YouTube doesn't like people talking about, and occurring in a little country called Ukraine. They've really seen a lot of tactics that kind of proven to be bad ideas. After some more recent fights the Russian armies had in Chechnya, and that little incident that totally didn't, where Russian totally wasn't involved back in 2014. A lot of those battles are quite a bit smaller scale, so things like a BTR or BMP, BRDM could almost function like tanks in a lot of situations. Both sides aren't really packing super heavy armor, so being immune to small arms fire essentially, and packing a pretty nasty little machine gun usually worked out well enough. At least most of the time there. So anyway, more recently though, both sides, this whole Russia-Ukraine thing, found out that they're not tanks. They do not hold up at all. Some BTRs have been taken out by crazy guys with Molotov cocktails aiming for the tires. Light the tires on fire and book it out of there. And usually most of them are because they're sitting on top of a diesel engine, and people always, diesel's burn, which, diesel's less flammable than gasoline. But you get enough heat going on that, diesel will, especially if it's in a close tank, it doesn't take a whole lot to get diesel to make a pretty good explosion. Actually, diesel's pretty good for starting campfires. A lot of times there, because it doesn't flash over like gasoline. Gasoline's basically just explosive. You try to start a fire with gasoline, and you're gonna be looking for new eyebrows if you're lucky. But diesel's a little more controllable, a little more common sense. But either way, your vehicle's tires are on fire. Tire fires are pretty hot. You've got a half inch of steel at most between the fire and your fuel tank. And that fuel tank starts getting heat up, and it starts making the gasoline vapor. Isn't that gasoline vapor will detonate if you get a chance. So lots of times, if you get a basic fire going on an armored vehicle, the crew will just bail out because they don't really want to, be around if the situation gets worse. And hitting one of those little light Soviet era armed personnel carriers with something like a javelin or RPG is just, it's like getting a fly with a sledgehammer. It does the job and everything, but it's just a tad bit, excessive. And then some of those newer RPGs too. Heck, some of the original RPGs with the heat round there, some of those are rated for up to like 10, 12 inches of steel. Like pretty much even literally anything designed or built in World War II, up to and including things like the mouse, a post-war rocket RPG, will punch through that armor. Water composite armor is just really, really fascinating from an engineering perspective, just on what it can handle. Because basically just pure steel armor is not going to do anything against dedicated tank weapons anymore. And then you start getting the whole drone thing and all that, and that's a whole other dimension. I don't think anyone was really truly expecting it to be quite as effective as they were. Drones were kind of one of those, like, whatchamacallit, like, unexpected factors. You know, maybe they'll use them for retail and stuff, but nobody really expected anyone to start going, you know, strapping mortar shells to, you know, $100 made in China special drones and use them to dive bomb tanks. But then, again, because no one expected it, no one saw it when it first happened, and no one thought it would happen when it first did. No one was ready for it, so that's the bad you can never have is surprise. Got a window licker. What I really want is an axe. A lot of the stuff I'm doing really needs an axe. Everything but. Well, there is another building across the way here that might usually have. Just gonna leave him play with that window for a bit while I go over here. Nice and quiet, because nothing bad ever happens when it's quiet. Oh, roofing axe. Yeah, not ideal, but it counts. They're actually pretty handy little setups. They're similar to an old school tomahawk, where you have a hammerhead on one end and that little axe blade on the other. Works okay as a hammer, works okay as an axe. Not really outstanding in either way, but you know, does the job. And if you're limited on space or weight, there, it's actually a pretty good solution. Or in the case of roofers, everything you're carrying, everything you got on you, you're carrying up with you, up on the roof with you. So if you're especially if you're doing something with shingles. A lot of times they do need an axe to trim stuff basically on scene, on site while they're up on the roof. And so, you know, carrying a hatchet and carrying your hammer up with you, that's a lot of extra weight up and down the stairs, up and down a ladder. And yeah, roofing, that's one of those jobs that I really hope I never have to do. Because yeah, those guys, they can only work in the sun and when the weather's decent. If it's rainy or whatnot, they have to tarp everything over and wait till it stops. And then yeah, they're kind of pooped otherwise. So you know, they have one season they can operate in too, which is just summer. Nice days in summer. And I remember one time there I remember actually working on a site there where we had roofers on part of it. And one day there about a day it started raining. And they had everything tarped over and all that. And one of the tarps blew off. And so they ended up having to go up on the roof itself and replace the tarp because, you know, water gets in the customer's walls, you're losing that contract. And oh man, the first thing, they were not happy. Also, I'm just seeing one there where we had a thunderstorm coming in. You can see it over right on the horizon. Clouds getting closer and closer, and these guys, they were talking about earlier when, you know, that morning they're like, oh yeah, we got maybe 3 hours. Should be done by like, you know, should be done by 3, maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We're almost done. It's awesome. And right around 2 o'clock, the storm starts rolling in. And so they had a choice. They could either stop and cover everything over, or they could haul it and try and get her covered up before it started raining on them. I don't know how they did it. I don't know. Want to know what work safe rules? Or yeah, actually appear to be WCB regulations they broke to do it, but they got 2 hours of work done in about half an hour. It was something. It was pretty funny though too, because when they had garbage, normally they go back it up then like lower it down. They were just throwing stuff off the edge. How we can pick it up in the rain. I know. Construction there. With construction, you're gonna have a lot of really interesting and fun times. A lot of fun times. Yeah, no, construction, you'll work in some of the weird, especially road construction, that was a particularly fun point in my life there. Because you end up working all over the place, all sorts of people. I met more interesting folks there in that job than I think I'll ever meet anywhere else in my life. Oh yeah, no, just really interesting places, really fun people. But yeah, whatever you do though, if you work construction, never go up drinking with construction workers. And with the construction crew after they're done like a long shift, and they go out drinking, oh, you do not want to be part of that. Well, if you do, but I've only ever done that once or twice, and honestly, I can't remember if I had a good time or not. Yeah, no, they were. Yeah, they play hard. They work hard. They play hard. They got about exactly 2. They don't really give a hoot about anything. Half of them there have been so used to hard work most of their lives. They're pretty much, their souls are pretty much dead. Yeah, no, axes right now in this playthrough. Yeah, the random number generator is not loving me right now. But yeah, it's like, sure, the first construction jobs I ever had were straight up, we were doing a road project there, and at the start of the season, they had given out, they set up a tool crib and all that, and they had like something like 20 different utility knives. Well, about a month in, and nobody can find a single one of the darn things. So finally, one of these days, I got sick of having to, put off projects because, you have to have landscape fabric and stuff, or geogrid. And, that stuff's a lot easier with a good knife. And so we're and all that. Pretty quick, I got sick of it. I went to Canadian Tire and bought a cheap little utility knife out of their clearance rack. $5. I had people try and steal that knife so much, it really stopped being funny. Got to the point there where I actually had a policy then where I ended up having a policy where if they wanted to use my knife, I was coming with it, because otherwise I just wouldn't get it back at the end of the day. Yeah, it was good times though. But yeah, no. Oh, the other thing you can never find on site too, because it was always installed, no one ever put it back and used it, was tape. Electrical, not even fancy tape either. We're talking like the 99-cent rolls of electrical tape. And oh yeah, so I'd end up being the guy who always had one of those old survey vests, or they call them here in the games foreman's vests, but they're survey vests with a whole bunch of pockets. And I was always the guy who had a knife and a roll of tape on them at any given time. And oh man, the tape thing. Oh, I still have the knife somehow. I don't know how I kept hold of it without disappearing on me. Bloody miracle, that one. But the tape there, yeah, people borrowed it and shared it so much that about a weekend, that was it for the tape. They cleaned me out in a week. But yeah, like it's hard too. I wasn't buying premium stuff either. Like I was buying the cheapest of the cheap. You know, like it was just like, you know, you got something you need to hold together for 2 minutes, wrap some tape around it, done. There's nothing really fancy about it. Oh, and then then for a while there I had a more duct tape, and that one didn't make it. That one was gone in a day. Yeah, no, someone liberated that one from me in a day. I barely got out of the wrapper before it disappeared. Yeah, it's amazing how often the little things there can make such a huge difference to a project. In all honesty, to a good knife, a half-decent knife is worth its weight in gold, just but sometimes. One of those tools that's nothing until you don't have one, it's everything. But yeah, no, it's a good thing that when I got there for that job was utility knife too, because I'd be going through a new blade every day. Sometimes I'd be doing 2 or 3 blades a day, depending. Everything, like this one I use a grid fabric to make my lunch. Anytime our lunch breaks there, anytime I had packaged food, they'd all starts throwing up around me. Oh, can I borrow your knife? It's like, I kept telling people too, like, you know, it's $5. The thing came with extra blades and everything, like, yeah. But no, it's like I had the Holy Grail or something, it's bizarre. For dueling, good knife, good crowbar, 2 pretty much constant winners. Can't really go wrong with. Half-decent axe, or hatchet, also pretty good. Honestly, if you had a choice between an axe and a hatchet though, I'd probably go for like a lighter weight axe, like a 2-pound axe. Tends to be, it's safer. If you use have a more handle to work with, especially if you're splitting wood. A lot more leverage. They don't weigh much more. The handle's longer, which is kind of a pain, but you know, sometimes you take what you get and all that. Driving past zombies in a loud ass pickup is kind of like giving stray cats food. Yeah, pretty much your next project is basic defenses, get things boarded up, and then. One downside, if you have a lot of modded crafting recipes, it takes a while for that build menu to pop up. Not perfect, yeah. But, oh yeah, no, it's some fortifications and starting containers. Building containers is no fun if you have to constantly look over your back. Look over your shoulder there. if that little church shed there has anything in it. Oh, that was a little too interesting. Ooh. Easy there. No. Remember, kids, if you ignore the word no, there's a chance to catch a crowbar upside your head. As we just got demonstrated with our local Kentucky friends here. Go. Getting good here. I guess going some more nails. I really want an axe. Little generator here. A bit later. Nice and easy reach. Yeah, that one was meaty. A little difficult for those numbers right now, I think. I'm just gonna mind my own business elsewhere. So I should have enough to start at least boarding up the walls of my house. There's that. This trucker once over later here. Hopefully that draws them towards that alarm away from my place. Hopefully it'll draw them through my place. That wind though summon. Something special. Oh, yeah, alright. Yeah, screw it. Oh, there we go. Oof. Basically, brandy beans, beef jerky. Not a terrible combination, but god damn, your stomach afterwards isn't going to be happy with you. Actually, it's they have the one chocolate there right at Christmas every year. A lot of places around here where I live, you get some these little guys called brandy beans. Little German thing. And little chocolate, little bean-shaped chocolates with a little dose of brandy in the middle of each one. Not enough to really have any real effect on you, but just enough to give you that little brandy kick. They're pretty good. They ate too many of them though too, and the brandy just too many of them. You gotta remember, brandy doesn't love you. It's basically all the gist of that. Yeah, brandy doesn't love you and has no problem hurting you if it feels like it. Like should be enough to finish up. That wasn't very nice. I have seen suspicion that if the zombie apocalypse actually occurred, more people died from coming up behind someone who's a little paranoid than we actually get murdered off by zombies. To be honest, we have how many tank accidents in here that are someone figured that a guy wearing an orange shirt was a deer? And yeah, if you were back in the early 2000s, you make a joke about Dick Cheney. Actually surprised how well he came through that one too, by all seriousness there. You gotta remember, he didn't just shoot anyone in the face there, he shot his lawyer in the face. So if there's a man who knows how to completely ruin your life with a lawsuit, you know, that's pretty just. If a lawyer decides to sue you, you're in pretty deep trouble. Yeah, you get people that are accustomed to taking pot shots at anything that is on two legs, looks humanoid. Yeah, you're gonna be in for a pretty interesting time pretty fast. Well, if nothing else, I got a nice warm house. Sometimes you just gotta make a statement. In this case, the statement is back up. I actually kind of wonder how effective that would be at puncturing a skull. Though, to be fair, in my experience with baseball bats and carpentry and such, I'd say your best bet would honestly be, it would just be a case of, you know, pounding and hammering a nail through a bat. I actually think you'd really want to go and pre-drill your hole, and then probably honestly run a nail, or more likely, nut in the bolt. But you also, with a bit of it, with epoxy smeared on, with a little bit of 5-minute epoxy smeared on it. I would say that would probably be your most reliable option. If it came down to that. Epoxy kind of glues it all together, keeps things fairly sturdy. Because every time you drill a hole, of course, you weaken the structure. And then you're not, splitting things apart, getting a split started. Then you probably would have to go around with a file afterwards and sharpen the tips up, or just leave them as is. Honestly, if that kind of swing, the end of a bolt, or if you're really feeling fancy, you get some what they call ready rod, which are these. You can buy them at hardware stores lots of times. They're about a meter long or 3 feet long, give or take, depending on where they're shipped from. Usually 3 feet, coming from American-based foundries. Anyway, you get those though, and they're threaded. The whole length is threaded, and so you just cut them down to whatever length you need. So you take about 6-inch chunks of ready rod, I'd say. Drill yourself probably half-inch, something like that. And then, pour the holes for it, epoxy where it needs to be, and then just nut, and then a bit of epoxy, grip the hole, then washer, nut on each side, and push them up tight. I can pretty much guarantee you would definitely leave an impression. You actually kind of wonder what kind of. I wonder if it might be best to just with a baseball bat to use one big spike that way, or you just use a nut to make a big spike. Once you beat, and then you can flip it around and use the big spike once you get to the point where you can finish the show. Kind of like one of the old Warhammers they used to use in the medieval period. If you got a welder, you can make a pretty sweet little Warhammer out of a railway spike and a piece of pipe. One of those things I found out years and years ago. But yeah, no, it actually works pretty good. Makes a nice little, especially if you grind it down a little bit too to get a little nicer point. Leaves just about a perfectly square hole. And actually, you see that a lot with Warhammers too. That you can see the skulls still have these perfectly square holes punched in them. It's really, if you don't know what it is, it's really surreal. But yeah, no, they found a few graves, war graves, and yeah, it was just all these little holes just punched in the back of the skull. I figure that was a route. So you'd have the line broke, and basically the knights on horseback then chased everyone down and did what they do best. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here for tonight. I got some stuff to do and all that. Anyway, if anyone's watching this, I hope to try and get one of these done every day or two here, so keep on watching. If we get enough interest, I'll maybe try streaming, bring a few viewers on potentially. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later, and you guys all have a great time.